Hi, I'm Sulaiman from Morocco. As usual, I love to introduce every now and then something that is unknown to most of you based on the statement that says, the truth is stranger than fiction. Quick question, for those who have seen either of these movies, The Matrix or Lucy, to what extent can one believe those supernatural scenes to be real? Many of you may say, man, they're just sci-fi movies. But what if I tell you that most of what was displayed in them is possible and that it is rather a reality than fiction? Would you believe that?
Since the talk nowadays has increased dramatically about boosting our immune system, I would directly refer you here to that special little gland within our brain whose role goes beyond the physiological functions to that which is spiritual. Of course, many of us are aware of this widely spoken about discovery. I'm sure you heard enough about the pineal gland on the net, but the truth is still not fully attained about its proper activation. Like I said, one of its main biological functions is boosting the immune system in the body. Also, it has a neurological function related to sleep. That is the reason why it rather gets active when we go to bed and switch off lights. We can also get it to work when we are awake by simply closing our eyes and learning how to relax our senses to a maximum through focus and meditation. What happens if one is able to activate it when he or she is awake? We were told that the potential of this gland is not fully explored due to the excess of fat wrapping it. Thus, it gets calcified due to our unhealthy diet, poisons and chemicals that we consume on a daily basis in our meals, which almost turn it into a vegetated state. If we manage to activate it while we're awake, we will be able to see realms beyond time and space. Have our external eyes to do with this vision? The answer, of course, is negative. The pineal gland is considered to be our third eye. This gland is located right in the middle of our head, which is a very deep part in the brain. If we are to insert a finger in the forehead, up between the eyes, and right here above the ears, and directly under our throat all the way up, and from the top of our head down, the spot where our inserted fingers would meet is its exact location within the head. Its size is pretty much similar to a big raisin, quite resembling the shape of a wooden pine cone, where it got its name from. Also, if you're familiar with the traditional Moroccan cooking pots, it looks like two joined lids of this tagine. This shape is known to be a sacred geometry, similar to an octave. As you may know, sacred geometry attracts and traps cosmic energy, or what we call the ether field, inside them, like the pyramids, the cubic shrine in Mecca, and even the oblate spheroid shape of the earth. This is a related topic that needs a whole separate video, by the way. As a third eye, the pineal gland contains the same gel-like substance, which can be found in a regular eye, but it is luminiferous. This gland is connected to the brain by a pedicle that is comparable to the optic nerve, which explains the vivid inner visions during the REM sleep stage, when the whole body is completely relaxed. But how does such vision then occur during a state of wakefulness? In ether physics, when an object possessing a sacred geometry shape with a hollow or non-conductive center is surrounded by a very powerful electromagnetic field, that design captures energy at its core. As more energy is gathered at that focal point, a doorway in space is created leading directly to the ether field, which exists in a different frame of reference than our own reality. We are then looking into a parallel dimension. An object flooded with the field might disappear from sight, but that doesn't necessarily mean it moved away from its place. It simply means that its vibrational state at the subatomic level have increased beyond the oscillation range of our retinas. Did this remind you of something similar? Indeed, the same principle is pertinent to the so-called unidentified aerial phenomena, or UFOs, time machines, and also to the other coexisting ancient terrestrial race, widely known as the jinn in a Middle Eastern culture. It is just a fact that the electrons within the body cells of these creatures
are super accelerated than the electrons within the atoms of matter in our own world, only to grant them spirit-like abilities such as speed, invisibility, flexibility, shape-shifting, along with an outstanding genius. As we all know, a human brain is designed to host and process an infinite set of electrical impulses which can travel through dendrites and neurons. As such, it can also generate electromagnetic waves. Through spiritual practices, an electromagnetic field can form around the pineal gland as well. There are, of course, many ways to trigger this drive. Prominent among these is meditation, like yoga, breathing techniques, exposing oneself to frequency sounds and tunes, and also through mystic practices such as Sufism, through the excessive repetition of the name of God on a daily basis. Utterances form a type of frequency too, both in the heart and in the brain. Meanwhile, it is worth noting that the activation of the third eye is not a fast food process, and that not all the practices yield the same results. At first, one starts feeling a tickling or very minor cracks in the brain, which means that the pineal gland is getting prepared to release itself gradually from the time fats and the calcifying chemicals, till the person is able to navigate with his ethereal body in the unseen parallel realms. As it is said, the pineal gland acts as a stargate between the physical body and the spiritual one. As an Arab poet once remarked, "You may see yourself as a little speck, but the bigger world is already contained into you." Did the story end this far? Of course not. This is just what has been generally said about this gland, but not about the inner vision itself or its proper activation. And this is precisely what the topic of this video is about. The truth that has never surfaced in the mainstream sources concerning this esoteric knowledge. Just as malevolent forces have successfully steered human thinking in the world, namely in Western societies, and convinced the masses that reason and logic surpass emotions or faith, stressing the notion that whatever passes through the heart has no tangible effect on our reality, reducing such matters to mere psychological placebos or figments of imagination. This ideology has unfortunately formed the foundation of the entire philosophical framework in the West, placing immense emphasis on technicalities and regulations, pragmatism, business dealings, technological advancements, and empirical sciences. As such, one can affirm that a great number of people in the West have transformed into almost mechanical beings, burdened with a skeptical and materialistic mindset. This deliberate manipulation has impacted individuals a big time, causing a general spiritual exhaustion within Western populations and leading the following nations along into a never-ending cycle of stress and dissatisfaction. However, with the return of spirituality in the world, one can observe the same idea of deception being infiltrated and replayed. All the recommendations in this regard lay emphasis and point to the same old body part, the head, and more specifically to the brain, in order to contain the thirst and enthusiasm of the masses around the world once again. Indeed, the Muslim pioneers in mystic practice were fully aware that the heart is the king of organs, mastering both the feelings and the thinking. The heart has been always the spot of miracles in the human being. It was discovered lately that the heart has got memory cells similar to the ones in the brain, and that the electromagnetic activity in the heart is 5,000 times stronger than the brain. The pending question is, why does the West, between brackets, still point finger to the brain alone, this time in spiritual matters? It is true that the astral vision is carried out by means of the third eye or the pineal gland. Yet, just like a regular eye, it cannot work independently without the help of the other key organs. Since the magnetism of the heart is multiple times more than the magnetism of the brain, it is most certain that the heart immensely affects the brain and therefore influences the third eye as well. Hence, the brain is no doubt affiliated and very much adherent to the heart. There is a beautiful French saying of Blaise Pascal which always cherishes my memory. It says the heart has its own reasons that reason or mind itself ignores. In French, le cœur a ses raisons que la raison ne connaît pas. Being as it is, the fact that has been knowingly concealed is that both the heart and the pineal gland complement the role of one another to achieve astral navigation, with a main focus during the meditation process on the activation of the heart first. It is just amazing that worldly oriented folks oftentimes point to the head in reference to the mind, which is rather a spot of calculations and rationalism, while people of belief point instead to their heart, which is a spot occupied by the soul and which is responsible for sentiments, peace, and tranquility of the mind itself. As such, what is the practical way then to open the third eye? Again, even if we refer to the pineal gland as the third eye, we have to always remember that the nature of the inner vision is dual, calling for the interaction of both the heart and the brain. And now that the electromagnetism of the first is way bigger than its affiliate gland, we have to mainly focus on the heart then during all meditation sessions. To trigger attention around that spot, one may initially put his hand or only a few fingers on his chest. Upon finding a comfortable sitting position, normally the breathing decreases within the first 3 minutes and the person starts diving within the self. We can expedite the process by holding the breath for a moment, then releasing it. It is very important to bring the breathing rate to a minimum for a faster and effective meditation. Also, to activate the heart, we should call for feelings like gratitude, piety, humility, pity, and ecstasy in order to drive away all unnecessary anxiety or stress, worry, and uneasiness of mind. If the practice is a zikr involving the name of God, we must favorably imagine that it is rather the heart that utters it. This is a very old technique in Sufism known as the hymning of the heart. I actually tried many meditation techniques pertaining to sitting positions, kata movements, breathing, as well as frequency sounds, but I came to the affirmation that using divine hymns of dhikr and thoroughly reciting the words of the Quran are the most powerful type of meditation to activate both the heart and the brain. It doesn't require any complicated rituals or techniques. You only need to take a comfortable sit-in without fully resting your back, nor completely closing your eyes. Also, it would be better if the light in the room is dim and there is no noise around in order to increase the concentration capability. Now, what are the benefits of activating astral vision inside parallel realms? Many people ask this question, and by nature, a person cannot feel excited and interested without being aware of the results. Once again, I remind those who haven't yet seen either of the movies, The Matrix or Lucy, to watch them just to get an idea about the human spiritual potential and possibilities, despite the fact that Hollywood directors tend to employ lots of exaggeration. In this context, I would like also to point out that not all astral activations are desirable. Different methods lead to different results. The ones that are displayed in these two movies are rather the delinquent type, people who seek to acquire the powers of nature and to concentrate them within their body, showing them off in public, is a clear indication that their spiritual activation is rather a deviation from the source. As a matter of fact, one of the main purposes of astral navigation is connecting ourselves optimally to the source instead of releasing ourselves from all liabilities. This wouldn't lead the individual to the aspired state of peace and a clear vision about life, as well as understanding our purpose of existence. Also, it is worth mentioning that while we strive to activate our inner vision in the matrix, there are others who are actually born with their third eye open without any practice at all. However, realizing that they are special among others, many of these usually resort to witchcraft or fortune-telling. Rather, one needs to seek wisdom, knowledge, and true understanding, boosting immunity from all negativities, how one can become a coach and a doctor of his own whereabouts, and to start looking at life with the real eye, passing its tests and trials successfully. Awaiting your comments. Thank you for watching.